It's official, guys. New York Attorney General Letitia James is on an anti-Trump, anti-business rampage that could very well shut down the Big Apple. So, for starters, James wants to seize Trump's assets, including some of his prized NYC properties. That is, if he ignores the $355 million fine, which has ballooned to about $456 million fine from the civil fraud ruling against him. Now, as a part of the same ruling, Judge Engoron temporarily banned former President Trump from doing business in the state where he made his name. So, Trump lawyer Alina Habba called the ruling manifest unjust and said that she was confident that it would be overturned on appeal, thereby ending the relentless persecution against my clients. So according to Alina Habba and Trump's team, if this decision stands, it will serve as a signal to every single American that New York is no longer open for business. Legal and business experts are already commenting how Letitia James is turning New York into a banana republic with all these politicized lawsuits. Now, apart from the Trump case, James also has a beef with, well, she has a beef with beef. So James sued JBS USA Food Co and the U.S. subsidiary of the world's largest beef producer, accusing it of fraudulent and illegal business activities and demanding disgorgement of all of its profits and ill-gotten gains. Protests and boycotts are already starting in the Big Apple. Real estate mogul Grant Cardone already ordered his team to immediately discontinue all underwriting on New York City real estate, saying that recent political decisions will continue to deteriorate price and benefit states that don't have these challenges. His fellow millionaire and Shark Tank star Kevin O'Leary believes that the ruling against Trump will likely be overturned on appeal, but the consequences of the decision may hurt New York going forward, including the threat by truckers to boycott loads to New York City. So yeah, let's take a look at this downward spiral started by Letitia James' lawsuit against former President Donald Trump, and let's see just how bad this is actually going to get for New Yorkers and Americans in general. So stay right there, guys. We're starting with the New York City civil fraud trial against Donald Trump, which his attorney, Alina Habba, said that they've already lost even before they walked into the courtroom. Check this out, guys.
Good afternoon. Let's remember that before I walked into court, we had already lost. That was clear with his motion for summary judgment. Before witnesses, before experts. And do I think any of it mattered? I certainly hope so. But for anybody that was in the courtroom for the last 11 weeks, you heard that there was not one fact against President Trump. There was not one piece of paper that showed anyone committed fraud. And don't forget that Section 6312, a consumer fraud statute, has been wrongfully used against my client, innocent defendants, the organization, and every employee of the Trump organization, which has single-handedly changed the New York skyline, including the building we are in today. These are special properties.
New York City Attorney General Letitia James certainly made it very clear that she's out for blood when she vowed to seize Donald Trump's assets, including some of his prized Big Apple properties. That is, if he fails to come up with the money for the $355 million judgment against him. Trump and others were ordered to pay a combined $364 million, which totals $450 million with interest, at least according to the Attorney General's office. And so this means that Trump could lose some of his prized NYC if he fails to pay the fine. So James even added that she is not going to shy away from going after Trump's famed 40 Wall Street high-rise or his other prime city properties. She said that she looks at 40 Wall Street each and every single day. Trump's team, however, they're set to appeal the ruling, saying that there were no victims in James's case and that Trump paid back all of the loans and the banks to which he owed the money. Trump has also claimed Engoron's ruling will drive businesses out of New York. And it definitely looks as if he's starting to do exactly that with real estate moguls like Kevin O'Leary and Grant Cardone, both saying that they're not confident about doing business in the Big Apple anymore, plus all the truckers swearing to boycott deliveries to New York City. I mean, this is serious, you guys. And if you haven't yet, I definitely recommend subscribing to the channel, tapping that notification bell. That way you don't miss out on any important updates on this. This is a very quickly developing story. Now, we've got even more to talk about, so definitely stick around. So another concerning part about this is that it's not just the fine. As part of the ruling, Trump, who has repeatedly claimed that the case is a politically motivated witch hunt, will be barred from serving as an officer or director of any company in New York for 3 years. Engoron also issued a 2-year New York business ban against Trump's 2 eldest sons and ordered them to pay $4 million each. Now, As I mentioned earlier, Trump lawyer Alina Habba called the ruling manifest unjust and said she was confident that it would be overturned on appeal, thereby ending this relentless persecution against my clients. Now, for the Trump team, if this decision stands, it would serve as a signal to every single American that New York is no longer open for business. The statement was echoed by Clifford Robert, the attorney for Eric and Donald Trump Jr., who called the judgment a gross injustice. So Trump argued that Engoron and James, both Democrats, were conspiring against him. He said that people like Engoron and James, they try to demean him and hurt him, probably for political reasons. Now, according to Donald Trump, he did nothing wrong and they should pay him for what they've had to go through. For him, all of this, his civil suits and the 91 criminal charges that he's facing across 4 different states, they're all part of a politically motivated scheme to bring him down. He called it a very sad day for America when that ruling happened. Now, let's see just how much Trump's $355 million fraud ruling means for his company, real estate empire, and his wallet. Now, honestly, it's unlikely that Trump's name will be erased from the Big Apple skyline from all of this. Instead, the biggest headache that Trump is likely to face immediately is coming up with a security bond to cover the $355 million penalty, plus the hefty 9% interest rate that's being tacked on daily. Meanwhile, his expected appeal winds its way through New York's appellate courts. Most bond companies will require Trump to pony up around 10% of the penalty in cash and then put up some of his properties as collateral to cover the rest of the bond. The ex-president could either put up the entire staggering amount in cash himself or maybe find a wealthy benefactor to chip in on his behalf. Something that we're already seeing with GoFundMe campaigns started by Alina Cardone, who is wife of Grant Cardone. Now, how much is Trump worth? Well, a Trump Org 2021 document entered into evidence during the fraud trial claimed that Trump had close to $293.8 million in cash and cash equivalents at his disposal and a total net worth of $4.5 billion. Trump will get a lot of the money that he puts up back if an appeals court lowers the amount of the penalties ordered by Engoron. But the property mogul is likely to be charged a multi-million-dollar non-refundable fee from the bond company. Now, about that appeal, it could take a couple of years for the case to make its way through the courts. So first, Trump's lawyers would file an appeal at the First Department of the state's appellate division, and the case would ultimately end up being heard by the State Court of Appeals in Albany. Now, as far as what's next in the immediate horizon, Trump is preparing for a criminal trial slated to start March 25th over whether he fudged his company's business records to conceal an illicit payoff to porn star Stormy Daniels to hide a sex scandal from voters in the run-up to the 2016 presidential election. He has pleaded not guilty. I mean, I'm telling you guys, it's really a whole 3-ring circle with this whole anti-Trump agenda. So pro-Trump experts are even saying Letitia James is on a rampage against business and is willing to turn New York into a banana republic with a lawsuit against Big Meat. As if she didn't have enough on her plate, no pun intended, James recently sued JBS USA Food Corporation, the U.S. subsidiary of the world's largest beef producer, accusing it of fraudulent and illegal business activities and demanding disgorgement of all profits and ill-gotten gains. Critics say James' lawsuit is frivolous and is a mere publicity stunt. I even read one comment saying that Letitia James should be sued for being massively overweight. Her body is not environmentally sized, but hey, let's not go there. Instead, let's look at what these experts are saying, that she's using the state's legal apparatus to punish individuals and industries unpopular with the left, sacrificing the rule of law in the process. Because if she can do this for beef producers, she can do it to any other industry. And before long, this kind of politically motivated legal attack is going to scare companies out of New York. Who's to say your business or your job could be next? I mean, I've already heard people talking about that they'll never spend another dollar in New York again after all of this lawfare. That's what they're calling it. Lawfare, like warfare happening? Yeah. And let me tell you guys, the boycotts are already starting. Grant Cardone, whose company controls billions of dollars in real estate and other investment assets, he said on Twitter that his Cardone Capital team will immediately discontinue all underwriting on New York City real estate. Now, for them, the risks far outweigh the opportunities at this time, and that recent political decisions will continue to deteriorate prices and benefit states that don't have these types of challenges. So instead, he tells his team to focus on Texas and Florida. So Grant Cardone's comments echo what his fellow real estate mogul Kevin O'Leary said in a recent interview, calling the decision to fine Trump unjust, appalling, and un-American. O'Leary said, "You might as well find guilty every single real estate developer on earth." Kevin O'Leary, also called Mr. Wonderful on his financial show Shark Tank, believes that the ruling against Donald Trump will likely be overturned on appeal, but the consequences of the decision may hurt New York going forward, including the threat by truckers to boycott loads to New York City. I've definitely heard from veteran truck drivers, truckers, those with a one-truck trucking company. Oh yeah, they say that they're 100% boycotting New York City, and they're urging all of their brothers and sisters to do the same. But Letitia James is not going to be deterred from her rampage. Already, James has used the powers of her office to go after President Donald Trump and the National Rifle Association. Now she's targeting a beef producer. What's next? Furriers, car dealerships, big pharma, pro-life groups, Friends of Israel, companies that donate to Republicans? Most of James' 38-page legal complaint, it's a rant against beef, not JBS specifically, saying things like beef has the highest total greenhouse gas emissions of any major food commodity, and beef production is linked to a large-scale deforestation, especially in the Amazon rainforest. Now, correct me if I'm wrong here, guys, but isn't New York a long way away from the Brazilian rainforest or even JBS's US operations in Colorado? So how exactly does she justify a New York lawsuit? Well, apparently, she's accusing JBS of fraud for telling New York consumers that the company aspires to achieve net zero by 2040. Now, just to compare, labeling chuck steak filet mignon would be fraud because it would misrepresent the product being sold. It's chuck steak, it's not filet mignon, right? Okay, I think we're clear on that. But saying that you aspire to net zero carbon emissions 20 years from now is not fraud. Half of the world's 2,000 largest publicly listed corporations state that they aspire to net zero by 2040, but very few have concrete plans on how to get there. Now, as far as I know, aspiring is not a legal commitment. And so this is why legal experts are saying that the complaint makes clear James' goal isn't to get JBS to refine its advertising. She wants to put beef producers out of business. And this is a pretty dangerous, slippery slope, as she could easily target the politically disfavored for extinction. It will mean publicity for her, but millions of dollars in defense costs for her victims. The New York State Bar Association, Rule 3.1 of its Rules of Professional Conduct, defines a frivolous lawsuit as one having no reasonable purpose other than to harass or maliciously injure. And so with that, we've definitely got to stay vigilant, guys, so that this kind of thing does not become common. You know what I mean, guys? This is why we need each and every one of you guys to share this video on Facebook and Twitter. We've got to put a stop to this. New Yorkers themselves comment how she is suing everybody, but not one time is she fighting crime in New York. Any New Yorkers watching the show right now? I would love to hear from you guys. I would love to hear your insight on this. Actually, why don't we just go ahead and open the floor up for discussion? What do you guys think about what Letitia James is doing to Trump and these other businesses? Drop me some comments down below. I'd love to hear from you guys, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Take care.